on to item M2. This is now the public hearing for DTSC related process, which is for the board to receive public comments only at this time regarding the preliminary environmental assessment PEA document. So I'll go ahead and, I can wait to open. I'll open the public hearing. Mr. Miller?
I thought I would just read the background information on this so that folks who may be watching the process on TV at a later date understand what the public hearing that we're conducting, that you all are conducting tonight, is all about. For school construction projects, they're among the capital projects that must be approved by the California State Department of Toxic Substances Control. So if you hear folks in this process talk about DTSC, that's the division that has jurisdiction over this whole process regarding soils remediation and soils toxics concerns. Exploratory testing of the ECCL site soils was conducted for the CEQA initial study and the mitigated negative declaration documents, and you all remember talking about that this past summer when those processes came before you. Further detailed testing and analysis has been required by DTSC to define the extent and degree of soils toxics that must be remedied in order for construction activities to take place. So at this point, DTSC takes the lead. They, as the state agency in charge, they tell us what tests we need to do, what notices we need to post, what public processes we need to be engaged in, and then ultimately what we need to do to the site before the construction activities can actually occur. The preliminary environmental assessment draft document, which is also called PEA, the document's dated November 2013. It's attached to your board agenda item, and it describes two phases of work for the ECCL site and divides that site into two portions, each portion associated with a single phase. The first phase or portion of the site includes the area surrounding the existing gym and swimming pool along 47th Street. The remainder of the site is described as the second phase. DTSC has approved a work plan for the portion identified as Phase 1, and the testing and analysis work for that phase has been completed. DTSC has also described testing and analysis steps that are required for the Phase 2 portion of the site. But that testing and analysis is still ongoing and will not be completed until we're actually maybe a little more hopeful than several weeks from now. It may be able to complete it sooner than that, but at least in terms of the next several weeks. The PEA document fully describes the Phase 1 testing and analysis results and describes only partial initial results from the Phase 2 area. The public hearing at tonight's board meeting is an opportunity for the board to receive public comments on the draft PEA. A second public hearing will be held by the board to receive public comments on the Phase 2 area when the final results for that site portion are developed and published. On November 22, 2013, the draft PEA was officially noticed in the Oakland Tribune, and notice was also distributed to site neighbors and interested parties as required by the DTSC. That November 22, 2013 publication date started a 30-day public comment period, and the public hearing at tonight's board meeting is part of the comment input process. All public comments, whether received in writing during the 30-day comment period or verbally at tonight's meeting, will be forwarded to DTSC and will be part of the information that they consider in determining what remedial actions need to be required. There is no need for the board to take any action at tonight's meeting other than to hold the public hearing and receive public comments, which would be appropriate at this time.
Before you leave, let me kind of reiterate. So Phase 1 is the sampling around the pool and the gymnasium area and along 47?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
I've got a question for Mr. Miller, too. So what are the, I guess you're telling us that we don't know exactly what the remedial work will be that comes out of
In
the
phase
department?
two.
In phase two. So when will we know that?
In the next several weeks, at the longest.
Before the comment period is through?
And that's why there's a separate
second
comment
one.
period for phase two.
Are people going to be commenting on the action period? I mean, the raw RAW,
Yes,
separately at a later date
yes,
for phase two?
yes.
But we don't, what are, I guess, what are the range of things that we might see come out of the department?
Well,
Removing soil and bringing in new soil, or?
yeah, part of the obligations for a RAW are that our consultant consider multiple remedial strategies. So there will be various ways that these issues can be handled. Those will be thought about and thoroughly discussed as part of the RAW, and they will have a recommendation for the most appropriate steps to take that DTSC will be in agreement with. So though all of that information will be part of the remedial action work plan. And it's anticipated that that'll be in the kind of late January, February timeframe.
That we will see the raw?
And have the second public hearing.
Yeah, I mean, some of these findings are, I think you would agree, serious in finding carcinogens in some of the soil, and I'd say I was surprised at the level of activity that busy Emeryville has been engaged in on that site, gas stations and cleaners and other, businesses. Those are the main ones that come to mind. Molding, a plastic molding plant that, could leave carcinogenic materials in the soils. So, so of course we want to remediate this and deal with this and follow the proper procedures. So, I guess I want to, know, are we going to be able to do this in a timely manner? Or,
yes, there's nothing particular. I mean, I don't want to soft pedal this or downplay it or anything else. But there is nothing that's that unexpected or dramatic given Emeryville's history. It's just not that surprising.
Brownfield land.
Yeah. We are on brownfield land, yeah. And when I bought my house, I learned that there were gas stations around me, and it's probably the same gas station. But I thought, well, that's downhill. I don't have to worry about that for me. But, well, downhill is where the where the high school
I mean, the DTSC is very conservative. The measures that they prescribe for the site will make it cleaner, safer, healthier than it's been in many decades. So,
yes, yeah, that's true. And I appreciated the I forget where it was in here, but the chart of sort of bullet points about how the analysis was intentionally super conservative.
yes.
In terms of how they're setting, what possible, I mean, it's exposure of if you lived on that site day in, day out for over a period of time, as opposed to you were an occasional visitor or even a student, spending, a few hours.
Right, the
part of the
criteria
year.
that they hold us to are residential criteria.
Okay, but you don't, you're not anticipating at this point in time any major derailment in terms of the time frame for being able to proceed?
Well, define major. I mean, what we know is that this, even this exploration process, even this process of finding out the extent, the nature and extent of the issues on that site is taking longer than we anticipated, and it's proving to be a more lengthy and difficult process than we anticipated. So it is, I think at this point, certainly going to play out in the overall schedule. How much and exactly what impacts to the schedule, it doesn't do us a whole lot of good to speculate right now because we're 2/3 of the way through this process. We'll have real information to act on in the next few weeks. It will have an impact on the schedule. To what extent, I think we would all be guessing at this point.
Okay, that's fair. My other point is, and I don't remember exactly where it is in the document, but we're required to accept comments for 30 days.
Yes.
And we have the end date be on a Sunday, which I think we should make that the Monday,
Well,
12/23.
we have to go by what the calendar is.
Well,
but, you know,
in the law, I mean, which I would assume would be the same here, but I could be wrong, when action falls on a holiday or a weekend, you go to the next day.
Yeah, and
Because we're not going to be open waiting for comments to come to us, the district office, on Sunday.
Yeah, so far we haven't received a
22nd.
single comment, and we may or may not. But if comments come in on that Monday, they'll get bundled up and sent to DTSC just like the other comments.
Okay. Yeah, but and
We did the same thing with CEQA. You know, if a comment comes in the next day, especially if the day is on a weekend, we're not trying to be
Turn it around,
we're not trying
turn
to
it
be we're not trying to constrain this in order to make it difficult,
understand.
and we want the public input. So if something comes in on Monday, we will forward it to DTSC.
well, our notice, and I can't find it right at the moment, our notice may be defective to the extent it
95608.
says,
95608.
I guess it's got the wrong zip code on it, but maybe defective is a strong word. But if we're taking comments on, you know, Monday the 23rd and we're required to, then, you know, we should make that known to people. So I don't know if we've got,
I mean,
are
do you want
we
me to
putting
publish
anything on our,
another newspaper
well, are we putting anything on our
notice or-
website that is a notice, a similar notice?
I'm sorry.
Is there anything on our website inviting people to submit comments?
I believe that the PEA is on both the ECCL website and the district website. I don't think we tried to reiterate the 30-day legal period on either of those websites.
I think we should do that.
It's on the front page of the website.
Yeah.
Does it stipulate the 30-day period?
I'd have to
See, I
check
don't
it real
think
quick.
so.
No,
It-
it's within the PE.
It just says that.
But we
whenever-
can
hearing.
post that information.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
Just before we take public comment.
So Roy, I was just trying to get the schedule correct. So we have to do another hearing,
Yes.
but before we do the second hearing, we'll be able to review the raw
Yes.
on phase one.
There is no raw on phase
Phase
one.
two.
Okay, it's phase two. Okay, all right.
So, at this time, no other questions from board members. The public hearing is opened for public comments on this particular item. In the audience, anyone? All right, so the public hearing is now closed, and we'll now move on to the next item.
I think, do we have to
We don't have any action.
There's no action. They're not,
Yeah. They trained me well. CEQA helped me.
we just had the hearing. That was the action.
That's it. Just to receive public comment on this forum if there were some.
Okay.
We'll now move on to item M3.